Hello everybody and welcome to another Disney Q&A. I've been doing a lot of these recently. Why not? You have some great questions out there, so I figured I'd try and give some good answers. This is the series in which, you guys give me questions about anything Disney related. I try to give you answers to the best of my ability, whether they're opinion-based or fact-based. And we wander around on MC Magic while we do so. Now, typically I go around the theme parks, but I figure somewhere I haven't been in a while on the server is the Disney Cruise Line. So here we are at Wartport. We're going to walk around, explore the boat, and go ahead and answer some questions. So I'm going to just dive right in with the first one by Adam Road, who asks, "Hey Rob, great video. My family is going to Disney World in early August. We're using the quick service dining plan, but my parents said we get one sit-down meal. Is there any one specific restaurant you would suggest for a family? Thanks for your time. Keep making the great videos." Okay, so here we are hopping on the cruise. You get the one sit-down meal. Now, that's not actually part of the plan. That's what you're saying is that you're going to get to go to a sit-down meal while you're not, partaking in the plan. The plan itself is just the quick service restaurants. So that said, I think, you have a lot of options, obviously. You're not really bound by anything besides where you want to go and the price. Now, here's the thing. If you only have one place to eat, and it might be a little more on the pricey end because it's sort of ticket-based, but my suggestion, if I could only sit down and eat at one place at Disney World on my trip, and it wasn't in my top 5 because it wasn't actually in the parks, it would be at the Hoop-Dee-Doo Review over at the Fort Wilderness Campgrounds. It is a dinner and show that they run practically every day, I think every day, and it's fantastic. So it's like a flat fee... it's a flat fee ticket price that covers the meal, it covers the show, and it even covers, I believe, gratuity, so you don't even have to leave a tip. So the price you're paying there is the price you're getting, and it is an all-you-can-eat sort of barbecue-themed musical show. It's really a lot of fun. I went with my friends last year, or 2 years ago now. Man, it's time for a Disney trip. When I went with my group of friends, we all went and did it. We all... I think a lot of the people who had never gone before were a little not on edge, but they were a little unsure, because I had pushed them to do it. And I think the ticket prices were somewhere like the $60 range, which is, for a meal would be pretty pricey. Although I guess not too far out of Disney's range. So they didn't know what they were getting for that price. But by the time we walked out of it, I think everyone agreed that when they were to ever go back to Disney, it would become like a thing to do because it's just so much fun. The show is really fun. The food is amazing, comfort barbecue food. It's like so good, and it's unlimited. It's like a buffet, except rather than you going up over and over again, the servers will just keep bringing out. They see like, oh, this pot of fried chicken's gone, let's bring out another one, or and for the older guests or the adults going, they also have I believe free unlimited beer and sangria. It's just a great show, worth every dollar. And I figured if you're gonna sit down once, then that would be personally where I would go for my sit down meal. So next up, our question comes from, I'm like lost on this ship. I think this is the confusing aspect of being on a cruise liner, combined with my my inexperience with this boat in general. I'm gonna try and find my way outdoors so we can see something new. It's just like an endless maze. Laugh a Lot 54 asks, "Hi Rob, Disney just released a Disney trailer a couple of days ago for a live-action Cinderella movie coming out next year. What are your thoughts on them making a live-action movie out of a classic animated movie? I'm curious to see how it turns out. Maleficent is coming out in a few weeks, and I really want to see it too. Do you think Disney will make more remakes of classics into live-action movies if Cinderella does well?" So to answer that part of the question, oh yeah, I mean, they're an entertainment company. If Cinderella does well, if Maleficent does well, you're going to start seeing more, modern, grittier remakes of these classic cartoons. What do I think of them? I mean, the thing is, I haven't seen either film yet, so I don't know. I mean, they could be great or they could be awful. There's only going to be one way to find out, and that's to go see it. I wonder, from a entertainment perspective... Ooh. Oh no, somebody's sink broke. Gotta get maintenance in there. from a entertainment company perspective, I guess it's smart. You know, it's a brand that people know. People know Cinderella. People know Sleeping Beauty. So, you know, you've got older people who will go see it because they remember seeing the cartoons, and then you'll have the younger people who will go see it because it's, you know, the new Disney movie. How do we get out of here? Oh my goodness. I don't know how to get out of here. Let's just go down. I guess we'll just keep going down. Deck and forward. Okay, deck. That's what we need, right? Deck. This is where we need to go. What's interesting is the rate at which they're doing it. They didn't wait to see how Maleficent did in the theaters to get this Cinderella project off the ground, so they must at some level be really confident with what they're doing. I am totally trapped in this boat. Next question comes from 84 Weber, who asks, would you think it is a good idea for Disney to open another park location but more north, like when Ohio had a SeaWorld? Like the location would be in Ohio or New York. I would get the impression that maybe you live in Ohio. Do I think it'd be a good idea? I don't know. I mean, they're opening Shanghai Disney, so, I mean, more Disney is not a bad thing, but I think it would have to be on a global scale. The United States already has 2 Disney parks. And then they've got the 3rd resort, if you count the resort they have in Hawaii, but, I mean, not a theme park over there, but you know what I mean. I don't know. I'm not against the idea of more Disney. The thing is, you know, if it's all coming from the same pool of funds, then you have to wonder, could you spread yourself too thin, and now you have too many parks that aren't well enough maintained because they have to allocate budget to these other parks. I don't think Ohio would work, or even New York, to be honest. As much as I'd love to have a Disney like right, you know, a subway right away, it wouldn't work. And it's funny because that you mentioned that, because Walt actually considered a lot of different places when he was looking for where to build what would become Disney World. For instance, he was looking at St. Louis. That actually was that probably got as far as any of the as far as most of the options out there. Reality Land is the book that sort of details the building of Walt Disney World, and they talk about all of the options he was considering beforehand. He was also considering New York, especially after the New York's World Fair. The problem with these places is that winter comes, and then the park can't be open year-round unless you were to do a completely indoor park, which just wouldn't really be feasible. You know, at the time, it was a consideration because, you know, prior to Disneyland, the concept of a theme park, well, just didn't exist. You just had, you know, carnivals and stuff. And the concept of those were that they were seasonal. It was a summertime thing. You just didn't have one open all year round. And Disney faced a lot of opposition from people within the company who thought he was crazy at the idea of making a theme park that would be open 24/7. But sure enough, you know, when you have the right location where you could do that all the time, then it works. I'm so lost. I'm just so lost. I just want to... Okay, staterooms. That's cool. I need to find a way out onto the... Oh, here we go. Oh my gosh. Whew. I would feel so claustrophobic if I didn't know where I was going. So Ohio, I don't think would work. I don't think New York would work. I think they just get too cold. I think if you're going to do another, you know, Disney, you need to look closer towards the equator where you have, you know, a more year-round temperate climate so that you can have year-round guests and you can sort of fund the running of that park. Next question comes from MW Giannini, who asks, hey Rob, I know you've done a top 5 video on your favorite places to eat in Disney, but I noticed that those were mostly based on atmosphere. I understand how that could be a huge deciding factor in the restaurant at Disney, but I'm curious, what are your favorite foods within the parks? Good question. I did in fact base most of my picks on that top 5 just on the theming and where I like to eat, not what I like to eat. As for favorite foods in the parks, I guess, you know, to keep it short, I think the Mickey waffles are a big mainstay. I think the standalone here is, again, similar to the top 5 is, you know, none of the foods I'm going to list are going to be like high caliber foods, right? Mickey waffles are just waffles. They're good, but I mean, they're, you know, most waffles are good, right? But I think it's the fact that they're Mickey shaped waffles that makes them that much better. I can't think of a food where the draw for me is the quality of the food. And I mean, not to sound like a super snobby city slicker or anything, but like growing up in New York, I feel like I've had the opportunity to try places that are like known for like the high quality of their food. So when I go to Disney, I'm not like expecting the best, you know, the best steak or the best burger or anything like that. I'm just expecting it to be good. In fact, I think one of the top 5s on our lists that Christine and I have been bouncing around is top 5 foods in Disney. And I'm actually having a hard time coming up with that, because while there are plenty of foods I enjoy, I don't think there are a whole lot of foods that sort of stand out that way to me. Our next question comes from Cameron Benway, who asks, "Hey Rob, I'd like to ask if Don Carnage would ever come back as a meet and greet character for one of the parks." I had to actually Google it because I didn't know this name right off the bat. Don Carnage is the main antagonist in TaleSpin, which was the show I do very much remember. I don't know how I didn't remember his name, but it's the cartoon with Baloo and sort of the Jungle Book characters. Oh, is he about to ride the aqueduct? Go for it. Up, and there it goes. Well, you guys could go ahead and ride it. We're going to walk around and check things out. Would he ever come back? I mean, I wouldn't bet it. I wouldn't bet on it. I think TaleSpin, as fun of a show as it was not the sort of series that is well known enough to have those characters come back. Now, I know this year they've been talking about like bringing back some old characters. So maybe through that you could see it, but it would be like a temporary thing of like, hey, here's the selling point is, hey, look, we're bringing back all these old characters from, earlier on. So maybe in that sense, or maybe if like, I don't know, Disney one day pulls this, crazy 180 and they reboot TaleSpin, then maybe you'll see it. Whoop. Let's go down the elevator, see what's all the way at the bottom. I think we have some people following us. But otherwise, I wouldn't bet on it. I think, cute meet and greets have become so high demand, especially with Anna and Elsa, that, you're probably going to only see the most popular characters. And even then, you might see characters who aren't as popular sort of cycled out of rotation. Can we go here? There's deck 3. I don't know what deck 3 is, but we're midship. Oh, look, here's something. AJ Acosta says, "Hey, Rob, do you think they will make Disney Infinity characters in areas that have to do with the park?" Well, you don't have to wait for that and speculate. They already have, like, things that have to do with the park. For instance, they have, I know Spaceship Earth is on there and the Matterhorn, and they have, like, pretty famous Disney icons that are in the toy box. Now, if you mean, like, a toy set, I don't know. That'd be great cross-promotion, but I just don't see it happening anytime soon just because I think they have such a large library to get through between Star Wars and Marvel and Disney that by the time they get through all of that stuff and they can start working in some little, lesser-known things, then it'll probably be a while. Characters, that'll be interesting. Like, what characters would you think? Would it be like the Hatbox ghost from the Haunted Mansion? Stuff like that? Maybe. I think that would be really cool. Don't get me wrong. I think that'd be awesome. And I would buy that stuff in a heartbeat. But from a business perspective, I don't know how many people would buy that. So I'm not sure. I think you raised a really good question. Would we see characters? That'd be, it'd be a great. Here's my question for everybody this week. What characters would you like to see in Disney Infinity that are from the parks? Meaning they're not like Mickey or Minnie or, those sort of characters, but like maybe the dad from Carousel of Progress or, I don't know, some of the pirates from Pirates of the Caribbean, things like that. That would be interesting. I would love to see that, actually. Our next question comes from Alan MGM, who asks, first question, I was just wondering, where do you get the music in the background? So that question, you can find it actually, a lot of it on YouTube. A lot of people put loops on YouTube, and that's more or less what it is. When I want to just listen to Disney music, though, there's a website called DCOT, and it's d-cot.com. And it's sort of like a Disney social network, which, I mean, honestly, I haven't used it much. I mean, people put up, like, pictures from their vacations and stuff. But what it does offer is this jukebox that has an amazing library of Disney music and Disney park music. Whether it's, like, audio from full ride-throughs of the attractions or just, like, loops in the area to, like, they have, like, raw recordings of the original dad from the Carousel of Progress doing different takes of his lines from, I think it could have been the World's Fair version even. So they have like some really interesting audio that's worth checking out and listening to. Now on to your real question. Since 2012, the Paperman short from Wreck-It Ralph had a new animation technique combining CGI and hand-drawn animation. Do you think that future Disney animated movies would use this type of animation? For example, in 2018, Moana, the next Disney princess, is going to hopefully be premiered. I have heard that Disney has said that this type of animation would not be able to appear on any film in a long time, but since we have 4 years till 2018, do you think that this could happen? Yeah, it absolutely can happen. I mean, the shorts have had it. Hand-drawn and CGI animation have been combined for quite a long time. I mean, elements, there was the one that pops to mind is the ballroom scene in Beauty and the Beast was used with CG, and that was a hand-drawn film. I want to say that the ship at the end of The Little Mermaid even had some computer graphics. So even during the Disney Renaissance, they were putting CG and hand-drawn together. Now, if you mean like something where it's a specific mix throughout the entire film, I can understand that that'd probably be more difficult, but it's not like a technical impossibility. When it comes to animation, I think there's a common misconception that CG is cheaper, and that's why you see all these movies are CG now and that they're not hand-drawn. But that's actually not true. They're more or less about the same, hand-drawn and CG. The reason you're seeing all CG now is because that's what's popular now, and that's what sells, you know? It was a novelty when Toy Story came out. It proved itself with those movies, and it sort of has become the norm. Pixar has sort of made it what it is, and DreamWorks picked it up, and it's sort of snowballed into what it is today. But, you know, from a financial standpoint, it's not that much cheaper. It's about the same. So, you know, where animation goes in the film industry is sort of just where people want it to go. So I think the real question is you need one studio to take the risk, you know, make this mixed CG hand-drawn film, and if it sells well and people enjoy it, and especially if it's critically acclaimed for that look, then yeah, you'll definitely start to see more of it. Next question comes from Kenneth Vids, who says, when Imagineers were building Epcot, did they realize the City of Tomorrow, later in the future, it wouldn't be that much of a City of Tomorrow? Well, I mean, the people who actually built Epcot weren't planning it to be a City of Tomorrow. Walt had that dream, but by the time he had died and the Disney company was actually moving on Epcot, it had been turned into a theme park. So they were building a theme park. Now, you do raise a good point and a good question with, you know, Tomorrowland and Future World, these ideas of the future. Are they built to be future-proof? Because what happens in 10 years when they're obsolete? I don't think they were built with that in mind. And I think you can see the sort of direction that certain areas of the parks have taken show that. You know, Tomorrowland in the Magic Kingdom was supposed to be Tomorrowland. It was supposed to be our look at the world of tomorrow, but it very quickly became outdated. In fact, I remember by the time they had like sort of opened the Journey to the Moon, we had landed on the moon, and so it was no longer a big deal. So it became rethemed to a trip to Mars. What they did, Disney eventually, rather than just constantly updating it so it's on the bleeding edge, is that they essentially rethemed Tomorrowland. So rather than being a look at the world of tomorrow, it was a look at yesterday's vision of tomorrow. It's more of a throwback of this is what we thought the future was going to look like. And it's got that sort of 50s nostalgic style, you know, and then right ahead when they went into Euro Disney, rather than doing a Tomorrowland that's like that, you have more of a Jules Verne styled steampunk vision of tomorrow too, just going right into that idea of, you know, this is what we used to think the future would be like. Now, Future World, on the other hand, was supposed to be cutting edge, and I think they are trying, and I don't think they're trying very well, and I think that's sort of the root of my whole Revisiting Epcot series, is me trying to show how it's sort of losing its vision of what Future World was supposed to be. The real question is, how can you do it in a way that stays future-proof, because it's just not financially viable to just keep, you know, refurbishing Future World every 10 years, because, you know, that's what it would take, because every 10 years, technology at this point is moving so fast, it'd be hard to do. That's a big question, and I feel like if I had the right answer for that, I would be an Imagineer. Next question comes from Ryan Lang, who asks, what's your favorite hotel to stay at? The Contemporary. Of course, I don't have the money to stay at the Contemporary every time. I've only done it once in my life, and then I've seen the new updated rooms, and oh boy, do I want to stay there again in the future. I like Port Orleans Riverside. I feel like it's got super nice theming. It's not too big, but it's big enough that it doesn't feel packed. I think if I go again this fall, I think we're looking at Port Orleans French Quarter this time around. So there you have that. But my dream, of course, is a contemporary. That view, the building, the monorail, everything about it, just really fantastic. And lastly this week, we have a very interesting question by TJ Neon, who asks, hey, this is a bit weird, but if you're a true Disney fan, you won't mind. If you could stay overnight at a ride, which one? For your first choice of ride, you can only stay at one place, so what place would it be? Your second choice, you could sleep on the actual moving ride, comfort not being an issue. It actually makes you think it does. That is an interesting question. Another question of the week for everybody else, by the way. So if I could only stay in one area, now I think anything with animatronics would automatically be out, just because I feel like being in a shutdown ride overnight with animatronics is gonna be creepy no matter what, Haunted Mansion or otherwise. Man, tough choice. You know what? If we were counting retired rides, I'd say Horizons. I'd say there are scenes, I could have sworn there are scenes with like minimal animatronics with like just these future city apartments. I would sleep there. But if we're talking about rides that are only currently in the works, I would say, man, this is really a tough choice. And I should have thought of this before I actually asked the question, so I would have had an answer. But maybe by walking around the parks, it'll sort of give me an idea. Maybe it'll give me some, okay, I could go to the second one. I could sleep on the actual moving ride, TTA. I don't know. I like the view. It's long. Comfort's not an issue, so it would definitely be the TTA. And I just would get to see all these different parts. But as for the ride where I'm going to stay in a specific part of the ride, ooh, this is tough. I mean, it would be cheating, I think, to say the Swiss Family Robinson treehouse and then just go to the bedroom part of the treehouse. That's sort of like the boring answer. So I'm going to go with... Oh, man. You really stumped me with this question. This is the hardest question I think I've answered in the Q&A. Oh, man. I'm just, like, really drawing a blank here. I mean, Carousel of Progress would be cool. But again, you've got the animatronics, and that's super creepy. I feel like a dark ride with animatronics that are just sitting there staring would just creep me out way, way too much. You know what? It would be in the Peter Pan ride, and it would be in the scene where you're flying over London and you have the miniature London. So I'd be sleeping in the ride vehicle, and I'd get to look down on London, and I think that'd be pretty cool. So there you have it. That's my answer. London for that one, and then the TTA for the ride that's always on the move. Thank you everybody for your questions. If you have a question you want me to answer, feel free to ask in the comments below. If I've answered it before, I'll usually just answer it again in the comments. I want to thank you all for watching. Whatever you're doing this week, make the most of it because it makes it that much better. It seems I have drawn a crowd that are now following me. Where should I lead them? I should lead them to some unknown ride that I think doesn't get enough attention. Maybe we should go to the Hall of Presidents. Yes, we'll go do that. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a fantastic week. Whatever you're doing, make the most of it because it makes it so much more enjoyable, so much better. And I hope to see you all here next time for the next Walt Disney World Q&A. Bye, everybody.